Good morning. It's June 28th. I'm Sabah Hussain. I'm a director in school finance at ADE. I have with me Irene from my team and Adi and Irvin from the AZ's team. And we're kind of rounding out the year, so I hope we'll be pretty quick, mostly just reminders and if you have any questions. So if you haven't been here before, I start with housekeeping to give people a couple minutes to hit refresh. The screen you're looking at looks like a YouTube video, but I never look at the comments section. Instead, if you look at the top of the video, it says Ask a Question at Slides app Google PJA F5. It's a URL that shows me a little window where everybody's questions go, and if you like someone else's questions and they get sorted, and then I can actually display them on the screen. So yeah, there's that. Oh, yeah. If you have a login that shows something super personal about yourself that you don't want to share with the rest of us, you can log in anonymously, but if you have a specific question, I might ask you to follow up offline or explain more about the nature of your school, if it's elementary or if it's district or charter or something like that, so that the question can be more contextualized. And then it helps if you either keep it in a separate browser or in a separate tab. I know I've struggled with using it on my phone, so the QA tab is a little better on a computer. There's that. If you haven't called school finance before, or if you're a super new charter just joining us, school finance's job is dispersing state aid to charters and districts. We mostly base that on student data, but there are some other data elements we maintain to keep payments up and running. That'll include your teacher experience index and your vehicle inventory and things like that. So you can reach out to our team. We're 602-542-5695, and we generally can point you in the right direction if it has something to do with your data or your payments. That's us. It's time to start prepping for the first payment of 2020, and I have particular stress about this one because there are some new charters coming up for 2020, and their data is not ready yet. So we were giving charters a choice between using AZ's 100th day or charter estimated counts, and we were going to look in the at the data on 7/9. Mostly, there's a memo to read about the whole thing. I just don't have that many charters that are up to that place yet. The charter board has forwarded us kind of a list of who signed contracts. They just haven't sent us. Okay. So, sorry, there's questions coming in already, and they're a little strange. Sorry, hey, IT, why do people not affiliated with our organization appear in ADE Connect user management change log? Okay, one of the people on the AZ's team just said, what? So that one seems important. That's why it distracted me. I'll take this one downstairs and see if somebody can look into it. It might help if you could, I know because the QA is a little bit public, if you could email. I know ADE support at az.gov gives you a ticket immediately and support sees it because that's who I'm going to go down and talk to first. Otherwise, you can always email my team. We're the SF, as in school finance, analyst team at az.gov, and I'll chase this one around, but this one was concerning. That's why I posted it immediately. This is a strange question. It's, yeah, concerning. So not a lot of charters are up to the correct place yet. I have never opened a charter, so I don't know the full process. There are some additional steps to making sure your site is up and ready before the charter board will clear you for the first payment. So that's the other reason we're a little bit behind on this one. So we're still working on it, and if you miss the first payment, you'll definitely be paid in the second payment, and we'll make up the difference. So it's not too bad that we're running behind. It's just stressful. That's all. There is a queue for 915s for 2018 and 2017 that is growing over the past week really quickly. So we're processing them as quickly as we can, but when I say as we can, I mean the school finance analyst, and the LEA working on the 915. So it is our top priority right now, running through 915s and prepping for the new year. We're kind of not processing anything but those two things. So just I wanted to be open about the queue is getting longer. So if you think you're going to want to do a 915 over the summer, request it a little earlier if you can, because we generally work them first come, first served. A couple of people have called in the past few days to ask what is recalc. So we do a statewide recalculation after the fiscal year is done. So ADM and limiting, we need to compare all 1 million students against each other. And so the data are live through the whole year while the year is in operation. And then once the year is over, we lock the data and we calculate ADM one more time. So that's the statewide recalculation. It'll be the evening of July 15th. We do allow 2 additional weeks after July 1st for the kinds of schools, initially for the kinds of schools that needed that additional time. For example, an AOI has to export sometimes their time and then calculate it and then add it to their SIS and then submit it. So we keep the 2 weeks open for everybody so everyone has the opportunity to reconcile their data and make sure it's where they want it to be before we close the books on July 15th for everyone at the same time. So it's just 2 additional weeks to clean up the year that just ended. And then any results of the statewide recalculation. So for example, so let's say Sabah has an amazing charter school. We're going to call it Sabah's Amazing Charter School. And we had 1,000 students. And every payment for the past 12 months, we've had 1,000 students. So we've been paid for 990 ADM the whole year. If on July 13th, I change the FTE for all 1,000 students to 0.0, then my recalc ADM is going to drop to 0, which will become an adjustment on my first 2020 or my second or third 2020 payment. So we do try to make sure that the data had been moving all year can be finalized at recalc. So just it's not that there's any particular activity that needs to change. This is just finishing up the books, closing them down. That's that one. Another weird question we've been getting this week is about calendars and 21st century CCLC. So I called the program last night and we kind of talked it through. We're not sure where the misconception is coming from, but just for definitions, the membership of a student has to be tied to an instructional calendar that's aligned to 15901. So when I went to high school, that was from the beginning of August to the end of May, and it was 180 days. So that's basically the shape of a membership. So the instructional calendar that you submit to AZEDS is for the membership. EdFi allows a structure for program attendance to be separate from membership attendance, and that's what we're using for the 21st CCLC program. So that will allow any day of attendance for almost the entire year. It just happens that the fiscal year for that program starts and ends in May. So the dates that I put there are for the 2019 one because I'm assuming people are kind of rounding out 2019. If you're prepping 2020, I think there's more data on their website, and I'll quick walk you there for a second. Here it is. So I don't know if you've watched me browse around our website before. The top bar all the way at the top is like a navy blue menu for the entire website. Sometimes I cheat and I just go to all programs and search. The light blue bar is the menu for the site you're on right now, and this is www.az.gov/21st CCLC. They have a tab on required reporting, and it's got due dates and FAQs on it. It's pretty well covered, but that'll explain. There you go, the dates for the fiscal year 20, if you need it, program starts the day after the fiscal year 19 one. So there's that. Just in case that's confusing. There it is. So that was mostly everything we have. Here's a pretty easy question. An anonymous user is asking, if we come across a school that creates a new state student ID on a student when one already exists, what should we do? Report that one for a merge. We'll merge it when we can. Assessment has some workarounds if we get around to the assessment season and you're finding that the student has strange student IDs. So it's an unfortunate thing that happens to us, to all of us. So one thing that'll help a little bit with that is the requirement that you use a withdrawal form when you're enrolling a student, because the state student ID is on the withdrawal form. But this happens from time to time as another school creates another ID and they need to be merged. For me personally, I need them merged because I'd like to not pay for that student more than one ADM. So if a student is represented on 2 different IDs, ACE isn't going to know that that's the same student. So if you could please report that one as a merge. You can email the SF analyst team at az.gov with any details you know. That's nice. An anonymous user is asking, please confirm that integrity and aggregation will continue to run for fiscal year 18-19, which is, I had my website open just in case. So I'll walk you around for a minute. The school finance website is www.az.gov/finance, and we've kept a little red button off on the side to show you the deadlines for the year. The little red button leads you to a processing schedule and kind of the payment dates, but if you scroll down to the bottom, there's details about AZ's processing and the plan for recalc. So the last deadline for fiscal year 19 is going to be 5 p.m. on July 15th, and then we're going to run Integ and ACE then, but we've been running them nightly up until then. We had a slight problem with the support program rule app, and so we turned that off for I think 2 days. They got it fixed and we're monitoring it. It looks like it's running right now just fine. So otherwise, yeah, integrity and aggregation, or I'm sorry, integrity and ACE are planned to run nightly until the 15th. That's that one. I have a helpful anonymous user who's pointed out that the ADE calendar does have the wrong date for the charter estimated counts. I found the people who have access to the calendar, and I'm working with them. It's a little different than my WordPress, so we're working on it. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do about. I mean, we're working on that one. I know the website is wrong. Robert is asking, are we able to get a copy of today's presentation? They are streamed to YouTube, and so they're archived on our YouTube site. I'll be embedding this in our website this morning, so you should be able to find it. I also want to include a link to the 21st CCLC page for people, so hopefully you'll be able to find it in our hot topics. If you go to our page, the 10 most recent hot topics show up on the front page, and then previous hot topics will be available off on the side. Hey, we're getting pretty good at this. I really appreciate your participation. It makes my job a lot easier. Irene and I have been working on some pretty good stuff the past few weeks, so hopefully you'll see some improvements to our website over the next couple of weeks. I'm really excited. And I'll see you in 2 weeks. Why am I asking? I can just look. Knowledge Center, School Finance Friday. 2 weeks is the 12th. So I'll see you, I guess we'll hear each other on the 12th. Have a great weekend. Come on, mouse.